Hello? Hello everyone. Today we will continue to look at a question bank for Red Hat Certified Engineer. Next, let's look at question 8. We have already mentioned the beginning of question 8, and it asks us to use a role. Now where does this role come from? Well, this is related to the questions we have done before. The role to be used here is mainly ours. In the previous question 6, we installed 2 different roles ourselves. At that time, we actually made some modifications to the role names. One of them was changed to balance, and the other to PHP info. These 2 role names were installed in question 6. After completing question 6, once it's confirmed there are no issues, we move on. Now, question 7 actually serves as a foundation for question 8. Question 6 was about installing roles for question 8, and question 7 is about installing what for question 8. It's about installing this external service to facilitate our subsequent operations on this external service. The configuration of load balancing, because one of the roles in these 2 questions involves balance. Its original name is actually HA proxy, which is our load balancing, a commonly used load balancing service. So, what does this question require first? It seems quite simple, right? It is indeed relatively simple, but in reality its requirements are actually not few. First, it asks us to create such a file. We have created many of these files before, so we won't elaborate on that. Just make sure the name is correct. The second step is to create a playbook. What do we mainly need to define in it? First of all, what configuration do we need to set up load balancing? First, configure load balancing. The target hosts are the 2 web service hosts from question 7, because only these 2 have the web service installed. The others do not have web services, so configuring them would be pointless. The main requirement in the question is, besides the normal addition, when we access, after the final deployment, when we access this content, when we visit the web page. It should be able to generate 2 types of output. One type is our node 3, and the other is node 4. As mentioned before, in question 7, there are 2 nodes. Refreshing once shows node 4. Refreshing again shows node 3, meaning each visit hits a different node. This is the desired effect. And secondly, it should display what? It also needs to display this. If we say through what? If we say through another access method. Because just now, we were actually talking about the external service already configured in question 7, right? In question 1, we have already configured the external service, and what are we doing? We are just calling it to perform load balancing. In reality, actually. The second requirement is about the PHP info. Here, it requires us to create a file. To create a file that can display what? It can display a corresponding file. The specific requirements here I have slightly omitted in this PPT, but in reality it is actually. The 2 tasks are, one is to perform load balancing through balance, and the other is to generate a new page through PHP info. Of course, the page actually just contains a line of information, but overall it's not very complex. The main focus of this task is using the configuration of roles here. Actually, there isn't much configuration needed for this task because we can directly call the roles, which are already installed, unlike in our 7th task. In the 7th task, the roles were created by us. For the 8th task, we directly use the 2 roles installed in the 6th task, so there's actually very little configuration needed. The configuration is relatively minimal. Alright, let's take a closer look at how we configure the content for our 8th task. Actually, in the 6th task, we have already installed 2 of our roles. One is balance, and the other is PHP info. The balance role is mainly responsible for handling what we just discussed. The web service host group in the 7th task, balancing the load between the pages of 2 hosts. The PHP info is used to deploy a test page for PHP. These are their main functions, which is the focus of this task. The main core objective. Alright, next, let's take a closer look at this. How should we write our file? Actually, you can refer to our previous task. Using the role method is actually sufficient. Just refer to the previous question. Here, we will proceed directly. Why didn't I include too many requirements in this PT? Actually, there's a point, which is, although there are many requirements in the question, each one has about 2 or 3 or 4 requirements. But you don't need to worry about them. You don't need to manage them. You can directly use the decision making. Everything is configured within the roles. And that's the essence of this question. The approach to this question is very simple. It's considered a relatively easy question. Why? Because although the question seems to have many requirements, in reality, no matter how many requirements there are, we are using a role. And this role has already been installed with all the necessary content. As soon as you run it, everything will be configured for you. So in this case, how should I put it? This question is basically almost like not doing anything. It's equivalent to taking the last YAML file from the previous question, question 7, which calls the role, and just deploying and executing it. That's the configuration. Next, let's take a closer look at the writing method. First, let's go to the command line. First, we remotely connect to this. Our IP is Greg at Chocho. Once we're in, we can first take a look. Let's directly switch to the directory we most frequently visit. Directly go to the answer directory. Then we edit the rules. .yml. Here, you need to pay attention to the requirement to create it directly in the directory without needing to go to other directories. Why? Because our roles have already been installed. Let's take another look at the directory from our last lesson. Right? In the last lesson, we installed Apache ourselves, while balance and PHP info are for the 6th question. For the 7th question, we did alpha, and for the 6th question, we installed balance and these two, which are already there. So you don't need to configure them again, it's already okay. Therefore, this question is relatively simple because although it seems like there are many requirements, in reality, we don't need to configure anything. The roles mentioned in the question are already included. Here we will use VM to edit our file. After opening the .yml file first. What do we write first? First, write a name. A name. For example, what should it be called? For instance, just use. The role of peer pin info. After deciding on the usage, what do we specify next? Specify the host group. Hey everyone, pay attention. Next we specify the host group. The host group is, as required in the question, it's the web service, which is also from our last class. A configured web service. Since these two are already two foreign services, we are essentially doing what for them? Implementing load balancing. Let's take a look at the effect here. When writing, you can just write host directly. Then add our web servers afterwards. Specify the host group. After specifying the host group, what's next? Which role do we call? This is info, right? So we just call it PHP info. Okay, that's the first one. Well, how do we write the second one? It's the same, no difference. For the second one, we use the balance role. Okay, how do we use it? First, specify our host group. Host group. So we are using the balance host group. Then the second rules role, specified as the one we just mentioned. The other one. End of balance. Okay? After both are executed, we can directly save. Just add save. Here, there are no other configurations, so don't be surprised. This task is just that simple. This task is simple. It's not really about the simplicity of the configuration, but mainly because of what? Mainly because this task actually demonstrates what? It highlights the role's function. It highlights the role's function. And once you have the role, deploying some content becomes very simple. So what can you deploy in this decision-making process? Hey, you can deploy a lot of content. After deploying these contents, we can uniformly call and execute this command together, execute this script together, which allows us to manage uniformly and manage some aspects of management. So here we can take a look at this. After writing, we can save and execute it here. After writing, we can save and start the execution for verification. Here actually, there's not much to pay attention to, not many things that need attention here. So here we just save it directly. As long as there are no mistakes, it's fine. As long as you haven't written the role name incorrectly, there won't be any issues. Okay, after saving here, next we will start running the script we just wrote. Alright, we proceed. Ansible dash. Just add navigator, and then followed by our run to execute the rules on my ML, then M for our output. Okay, let's check if the output information is correct. Okay, no problem. Everything is currently normal. Yellow indicates what? It indicates that some content has been changed. Then 3 and 4, they belong to us. This web server group, and as for 5, the node 5, that is ours. The balance group, it belongs to the balance group. Alright, after this is okay, what's next? Let's take a look at the specific situation. First, what do we use? We can directly use this command to remotely check. Or you can also directly access it. Direct access is relatively more convenient. As for these accesses, because here we have a total of 2. 2 nodes, right? 2 nodes. But here, the access is not to the 2 nodes. Normally, for our 7th question, we access the 2 nodes, and if we can access them normally, it's okay. But for the 8th question, the main purpose is for us to do load balancing. So what we ultimately need to access is our, the IP of the load balancer. Here we use the IP, which is 172.25.255. 0.3. Let's press enter and see the effect. Okay, it shows here that it is 11, right? Note 3. Okay, let's try again. After repeating a few times here, you can notice that the pattern is, right? 11, 12, 11, 12. It's different each time. This is actually a round-robin method in our load balancing. A round-robin method. It's like you take one, I take one, taking turns to handle the process, taking turns. So this is one of our methods. A method of using roles. Of course, another way to verify is through what? You can verify through. Let's take a look at this part. Normally, we can access both 11 and 12 like this. 11 and 12 can be accessed like this. The rest is about our requirements. The requirement is to let us access what? Through our PHP directory. We should be able to enter into our version information. The access method here is to use this and then add a PHP. Okay, here's our specific content. But actually, you can't see much here, right? Not much information. However, here you can see on the right side this. The directory is already very, very long. These are some of the contents we just saw. If we put it in the browser, it would actually be clearer. So here, I'll open the browser. You can use the service to connect, and here we are accessing. Here we are accessing as I see. 172. Then add slash hello.php, okay. Press enter. If we can see this PHP information, what does it mean? It means there are no issues. This is our content of the 8th question. Okay, the 8th stage mainly involves using roles. The configuration is relatively simple. Once you have configured it, you just need to verify if it's working properly. Actually, you generally don't need to verify because by default, everything is already configured. Everything is already set up. So this is a method for using roles in the 8th question. If you need the complete question bank, you can leave a comment below and purchase the most stable question bank at the best price. That's it for today, everyone. Goodbye.